DaVinci Resolve Lite is one of the most amazing free video editors on the market, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to quickly get the most out of it. First of all, we'll just have a look at how I built the introduction you just saw. To begin with, we open up DaVinci Resolve, and this is what you'll see once you select a blank project. Down the bottom here are our four main areas where we import the media, we edit the media, we can edit the separate media tracks, and then we deliver it. So our editing workspace looks like this, a color workspace looks like this, and in this area what we're going to do in this tutorial is key out some colors on some particular footage so that it transparently sits on top of other footage. Once we've got our project all done, then we'll export it, and we can customize the export. We can export it to YouTube, Vimeo, and the default settings are usually the ones to go with, but of course you can modify those. So now to create our introduction, what we'll do first is we'll import some media. Now, for good housekeeping, it's a good idea to create a project folder, and the way I do it is simply create all the assets in the project folder, the audio, images and vision. So in the audio, we've got some stock tracks and some sound effects. In the images, we've got some background images, and got some little talking bubbles here, and we've got some screenshots of the different resources that I've used in order to create this particular production. There is a lot of free stock footage, stock images out there, so there's no immediate need to buy stock footage and that sort of stuff. Same with the video. Got some backgrounds which we can use, and some different sort of effects. This is the one we're going to use for the introduction. Some lower thirds, and these are great little effects that you see often on sports shows and things like that. And this has a black background, and we'll be keying out that black background so that the lower third sits on top of the footage. Some screen recordings of what we've taken, and I'll keep adding to this as we go through. Some stock footage. It's always good to have a little bit of stock footage in your video production because it just increases the production value. In here we've got a little bit of archive footage, and archive footage can be great to throw in there just as a pattern interrupt to keep people interested in the production. And we've also got some wipes, and these are great for just transitioning in between clips. Okay, so we'll go back to our backgrounds and get the earth. Now what we can do immediately is we can just drop that straight into the media pool, and we get asked, do we want to convert it to the same frame rate as the project? And yes, we want to do that. So now once we've done that, we'll head into our editing area, and we can drag our footage straight onto the timeline. So this is what we're looking at. Just play that through. And above here, we're going to add our text. And what we can do, first of all, when we click on the track, we can see it comes up in the inspector, and we can add a lot of effects to our particular clip. What I'm going to do immediately is just copy that with Command or Control C, and I'm at the end, so I'm going to paste that. This is a loopable track, so this should just play through. you see that loops really nicely. We're in the edit area, and once with the edit area, we've got our media pool and we've got our effects library. The effects library is fantastic. We've got audio transitions, video transitions, we can add titles to our production, and we've got generators. I won't be touching too much on the generators in this particular tutorial. However, our audio, our video and our text will play a big part. So when we want to add text, what do? We just drag text onto the timeline, and once we place the playhead over the top, we can see where it is there. So what we want to do is just select it so it comes up. Now we can move this up here. Here we can change the colour. We've got some different colour options here, and depending on how you like to work with your colours. For this particular tutorial, I'm just going to stick with the block colours, and now we'll just call this 12.5. Place that there. And while we're in this particular area here, you'll notice that I've got starred this cross dissolve. That's because I use it a lot. It's just a really nice professional looking transition, so that when we start, we've got DaVinci Resolve. And what I can do now is I can just stretch that right out across, and what we'll do is we'll add some scrolling text. So once again, just drag it down onto the timeline. We'll make that come in a little bit later on this particular one. As you can see, as you scroll along, it basically, it's just taking a little bit longer because of the screen recording. However, what we're going to do on this particular one is press this particular icon, which is it should come up there, that transform icon, and all I really want the scrolling text to do is just come up into this area here. Now we'll just pull in some text. And let's have a look at what we've got there. And of course we can just add more to that. So move up here, go to the end, 5. Add some images, 6. We'll add a transition. Whoops, I spelled that. Between clips, and we'll think about what else we'll do there. For the moment though, what we might do just quickly is add a cross dissolve, do that, and finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some music underneath that. So just go back into audio, music, and just have a quick listen. Okay, well that sounds not too bad. As you can see, we're in the edit area, but what we can also do is we can drag clips straight into the edit area. So it doesn't have to go into the media pool immediately. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut it out there and fade it out. So we use the splice tool there, delete that. We'll go back to our effects library and go to our crossfade, fade that in, and we'll fade that out. Now with our effects library, we can just increase that. We can also increase the workspace area too. So that we keep it in full view. Okay. Let's have a listen, have a look. Now what we're going to do is import those two particular files. So just go to the vision, go to the screen recordings, and we'll import both of these. What I'll do first is just head on over to the media bin and drag them in. Okay. Now we'll just reduce the timeline, click the media pool up here, drag this one down first of all, and drag that down to there, and move them across to here. So let's have a look.
DaVinci Resolve White is one of the most
And there we go, there's our first clip, and we'll drag the second clip in as well. Now this is just explaining the introduction. Now what I'm going to do is we're just going to add another piece of media, and this will be our lower third. Just this guy, and I'm going to drag him straight onto here. And let's just play this through.
DaVinci Resolve White is one of the most amazing free video editors.
Now what I want to do, there's a couple of things I want to do here. I'll just first of all drag this down. In actual fact, I think I might drag it down to another. One of the great things is it automatically creates a new track. And I'm going to just focus on this, click it in, reposition it down, and you'll notice that we've got this little black area on the back of our main screen. What I do here is we just stretch that across. Go into the next screen and also stretch that across just to make it full width. Right, and what we want to do here is we want to key out the black so that it comes in automatically and sits over the top of the footage. So in order to do that, we go into our color area. You can can see it's been selected there. So this is a great area. We have to do two things here. We add a serial node, and this will just create a copy of this, and then we right mouse click and we add an alpha output. Once we add the alpha output, we just draw a line, grab the arrow there, and we select our color picker. We click on the black, which is what we want to key out, and at this point we need to invert it. So you'll see here that this should just come in quite nicely and sit over the top. Now it's a bit difficult to pick up on the video here, but there's a little bit of pixelation and a few black artifacts here. So what we do is we just clean up the black a little bit, and we get the in-out ratio and we pull it back. And what that will do is that will give us a nice, clean, crisp area. Let's just have a look at that. And that looks quite clean. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to drag the music out. Yeah, let's try there. So we'll just keep this music going underneath. Let's play.
DaVinci Resolve Light is one of the most amazing free.
Now, we can hear the music is a little bit loud once the voice comes in. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drop the music down at that particular point. Here's where our keyframes come in. So, I'm going to, you can see that's where the voice comes in. So we can just see that down there. So I'm going to add a keyframe there next to the volume. I'm also going to add a keyframe before it. Alright, that might be the end of the music there. We'll go to the end. Add another keyframe in there. Go a little bit further. Just make sure I haven't crossed over the end. Add one more keyframe. So what's going to happen now is we can just drag this down. We can drag this down. Now there should be a fourth keyframe there. There wasn't, so now there is. And just bring that back up. So let's have a listen to that.
DaVinci Resolve Light is one of the most amazing free video editors on the market. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to.
Okay, so what we might do here is we might just pull up the volume. We can do that from here, or we can do that from here. So we've got the volume up on the vocals, and what we're going to do is we're just going to focus, add some text on top of our little lower third. So we go to the effects library, come down to the text, drag that on top, put the playhead over the top of it, and just select that, pull it down. Now I can change the size of the font either by reducing the transform box, and I can also reduce it over here. And we'll just add in DaVinci introduction. Yeah. What we can do is we can just pull this across here and maybe just lift it up here too. You can also do that via this area here. And we've got a couple of effects that we can add here too. We can add a bit of a drop shadow to it, so we might do that. And that's a little bit much. And what we can finally do here is just a quick fade in and fade out. On the text. And we'll just have a look at that.
Light is one of the most amazing free video editors on the market, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to quickly get the most out of it. First of all,
so what would be nice here would be to have that reverse back out. As it goes, it doesn't do that, it just drops out. So how do we get it to reverse back out? Well, just go Command or Control C to copy it. Move the playhead along a little bit. Command Control V to paste. And when we right mouse click on this, we can go change clip speed and we can click reverse speed. So now what will happen is that will reverse back out. You can see there's a few little artifacts there still, so we'll need to clean that up a little bit more. What we want to do is we need to keep the end of it in focus because that's the part that's going to reverse out. So now when we have a bit of a look at it,
free video editors on the market, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to quickly get the most out of it. First of all, just have a look.
And there it goes, there she is going out. So what we might do is just quickly go back into the colour area here. We need to make sure that's chosen. Sometimes it seems to default to the colour one, like it's done here. Okay, and just on this, we might make the clean black, just increase that, pull the in-out ratio back a bit. And that seems to look a bit better. Now at this point, it's probably a good idea just to maybe have a quick look at this. So what we can do is we can go into our delivery section and just put the playhead here, press I, and that will give us an in point, and then go to the end of it here, press O, and that will give us an out point. And you can see we've got an in-out range there now. So what we'll do is we'll quickly just go test 1, click add to render queue, and where we'll put this, I think I'll just drop this onto the desktop for the time being. Okay, and now we start render. This is a great way to just test little areas of the project just before you commit to them. Make sure that they look really good. As we can see, it's coming through here. Is the process 62%, so that should be done in a couple of minutes, probably not even a couple of minutes, probably about 30 seconds, and see how that looks on the big screen. Alright, so what I'll do now is play this.
DaVinci Resolve Lite is one of the most amazing free video editors on the market. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to quickly get the most out of it. First of all, just
There
have a
we go.
look.
That didn't look too bad. I think probably you can see this needs to be a little bit more centered, but outside of that, that looks pretty good. So let's go back into our editing area. Just go back over the text, highlight the text, and we can either just move that slightly, and that will look really good. What we're going to do now is we'll bring in a wipe, and in this particular one we're going to do some double keying. And what I want to do is I just want to drop it right in between the end of our intro and the beginning of the commentary. So first of all, I'm just going to drag, copy all that. And nearly got everything. I press Control, yep, that will get it. So now, and grab that as well, and we'll just drag everything up. So it's fairly flush, almost flush with the end of the intro. And here's what we're seeing. So, and that will transition nicely into the first section of the footage. What I'll also do is we'll just bring a sound effect in and bring this guy. I might just go into the media editor just for a tick here, drag it into there, and there's our whoosh. Go back into here, and I just want to drop him just down on this next track here. This mouse of mine's fairly sensitive. So go back into the media pool, there's the whoosh, just drop it underneath there, and that will do that. Okay, so that's going to look pretty good, but what we want to do is we want to key out the black and the green. So once again we go into our color area and got this selected. Now for this one we want to key out the black first and then we'll key out the green. So once again we go to nodes, add a serial node, right mouse click, add an alpha output, drag the arrow to the alpha output, get our color picker, and reverse that, and there we can see the black's gone, we've still got the green. And that's going to look really good. So now what we want to do is key out the green. So for that we choose the Colour Picker Plus, we click on the green, and here we'll just increase the clean black, and we'll also decrease the out ratio. If we increase the clean black too much, we'll end up removing too much of our effect. See it there. See how that disappears just by itself, so we don't want all that disappearing. So this is where we just play around, have a look at our effect. And hard to see there, but there's a screenshot it's coming in, whereas we just want it to come in at about there, so it completely dissolves into the new shot. So what we'll do is we'll just select this, press the Command or Control key, and we'll just move that a little to the left. As a matter of fact, and that should look good. So let's go back to here. Alright, and once that's rendered, that'll look really good. Now the beauty of doing that there is that now we just copy. So I'll just Command or Control C, and we'll go into here. Now if I paste that straight away, it's going to go over the audio. So what I want to do is just drag that up to there. And now drop that over the top. Alright, so we've got a little bit of coughing and spluttering there, which we don't need. So just move these points, it should come in nicely.
To begin with, we open up.
Okay. Just move that up to there, line that up. Select both of these and drag them back. Now,
We just open up DaVinci.
alright, so we've come in just a little bit early there. And what we might do also is just add a little bit of a crossfade onto this. Just fade the vocal in.
To begin with, we open up DaVinci Resolve.
There we go, there we have our intro, and we'll be ready to introduce our next section. So we'll go back into the Vision, Screen Recordings, and
Right.
Okay. Once again, just stretch that across. And let's make sure the vocals.
Right, now what we're going to do is...
Okay, so that'll come in quite nicely. Yeah, we could use a little bit more music just underneath all of this. So what we could do is we could take our initial track and just repeat that, but what we might do is we'll drag this down and we might introduce a new audio track. So back into our audio, music, there's Fantasy Forest. Okay, doesn't sound too bad. Just increase our workspace so we can have a look at that. Let's have a little listen though.
For good housekeeping, it's a good idea. Let's project folder, audio, images, audio.
Okay. Now just pull the audio right down there so it doesn't swamp the vocals.
Audio, images, visual. So in the audio, let's stop tracks.
Okay. And what we might do with this particular track is we'll just repeat this a few times. So Control Command C, then Control Command V, 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 V. So let's bring in the footage we just made before, and I'll just drag that straight onto here. Now, what I'm going to do is we're also going to bring in a little pattern interrupt here. So I'm going to move that back a little bit and going to bring in our vintage piece of footage and drop that right in between. This will just break up the production a little bit. And what I also want to do here is go to our images and let's bring a couple of these bubbles in. So for this I'll go back to the media, pull, drop them into there. Now go back to our editing area and just have a quick look at the end of this. And play that through. Okay, now I'm going to do a couple of things with this bit of footage. First of all, I'm going to increase its size so we can lock these together or lock them or unlock them, which means if I zoom the X, it will just stretch it out, likewise, and if we lock them, then it'll move everything out. Now this bit of footage was just really interesting because it's obviously vintage, old time, and one girl just looks like this girl here looks like she's saying something that this one here isn't too happy about. That's the way I interpret it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put a couple of talking, we're going to put a talk bubble of what she's saying, and then we're going to put a thought bubble of what she's thinking. Ultimately, this is a very short clip. So what we're going to do is we're going to freeze it right at about there. Now, this is quite easy to do too. First thing we need to do is right mouse click, retime controls. And now we have our little arrows. And this allows us to speed up, slow down the footage. I'm going to just click on the 100% there, add a speed point. And now I'm going to click on this 100% there and click freeze frame. Okay, so all this section in here is going to be frozen. So now that when we go back and have a look at it, and we'll just let the thought bubbles go there, and she goes. Now that will end up still being a little short, so what I'm also going to do is I'm going to reverse the clip at this point. So I'll just bring that back there. Now what I don't want is the freeze again. So what we're going to do here is clear the speed points. And clear the speed points and return this to 100%. And then right mouse click, change clip speed and reverse the clip speed. So when they come out, and they're actually backwards, but you can't really tell, and then we'll just fade that out. There's a little cross dissolve there. Okay, so what we now want is a bubble. Go back to here. And we'll drop. She's saying something, so we'll drop what she's going to say at about there. So we'll click on this, got our transform button highlighted, and let's pop this up here, and we'll have her saying something like, he asked me out on a date, which she's not too happy about. So go in here, go back down to our text, add the text on top. Now it's white, which we don't want, we want black. Go back here, make it black, and drag it up. Here we can just decrease the text size, and alternatively we can also decrease the entire zoom. Okay, so okay, right, center that, bring this back down, bring the font size back down a little bit, and that's just her saying a little smirk on her face, and a little question mark. Whoops, let's put a question mark. And right at this point, We will just pull this back. And what we'll also do is bring in the thought bubble of the other girl. And once again, just decrease the size of that. And what we can do is we can just copy the text from the original, our first input. Just drop this back over here and select that. And okay. So here's our little pattern interrupt. This might keep the production a little bit more interesting. What we'll quickly do is we'll just add some fade text. But at any rate, we'll just fade that out and in, and we'll have a quick look at this. Okay, we can obviously bring her in talking a little bit earlier. There to there, grab both of those, drag them up here, and let's see how the timing of that works. Okay, now I'll leave that section there, and what we're going to do next is work just with a couple of images and a couple of little editing techniques you can use just to basically add a little bit more production value to any screenshots and any screen recordings. So let's bring in that last section that we did. Look into the vision, and we're up to section 5. I'm just going to drop in here quickly because what I discovered as I was bringing in the various screen recordings I was doing for this tutorial was that they weren't, the frame rates weren't lining up because I wasn't recording full screen. I just set different sizes for the different recordings, and what subsequently ended up happening was that when they were imported into DaVinci, the frame rates were different and the audio and the vision were out of sync. So I tried playing around with that and cutting the audio and moving it along, but it became quite a painful process. So what I ended up doing was opening a program called MPEG Streamclip, which is a free program. I imported those files into Streamclip and just exported them as MPEG 4s and at 30 frames per second. So ultimately, if you're looking at the source files for this, you'll notice that the last 2 screen recordings are actually MPEG 4s, and that's the reason they're MPEG 4s, is because I had to make sure that the vision and the audio were in sync. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind. If you're doing multiple screen recordings, it's probably worth running them all through MPEG stream clip and exporting them at 30 frames per second. Like the width that we want. So what we'll do is we'll just go to the top. So I'll just shrink that. Take us to the top. Now, we'll let our position keyframe in there. Go to the end. And down at the bottom, just need it to go to here. Line that up. Okay, there's our end. And yep, she's scrolling through nicely. Now we'll do the same with our next clip. This time. See if I can Control Z that. Yep. Now we'll try and bring it up uniformly. Okay. And this is a lot shorter, this particular screenshot. Keyframe in for the beginning, go to the end, and drop that in there. Something that is worth doing throughout any screen recordings is just changing the zoom position. So what I'll do is it just brings back, okay, right to where the menu comes down. Okay. And just on this section here, and this is something you could do right throughout, is I'll just cut that there, and this is where I was just drawing the lines. Cut that there, and now I'm going and talking about the inversion. So we'll cut that there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to increase the screen size and focus in on those points. Okay. Right. Bring this down, just line that at the top. So what we'll have, just do a little cross dissolve on this.
Once again, go to modes, add a serial mode, right mouse click, add.
Okay, so we've got that first one in. What I'll do is I'll just add another cut point here. And on this next section, just drag this across so that we focus on this area. Let's see how that looks.
Add a serial mode. Right mouse click. Add output. Output.
Okay, and that's where we're at. So what we can do, we'll see how we've got those both lined up. We can make that out coming out. And there we have. So that's just a little example of how just to zoom in on particular parts of a screen recording, and there we have it. Right, that is huge. That's quite a lot that we've done. Now we're ready to export our movie. As I mentioned earlier, we can do a custom export. We can export for YouTube, Vimeo, Final Cut, and Premiere. What I'm going to do here is just export for YouTube. I'm going to give it a, let's see, just call this YouTube export. Okay, that all looks pretty good. Just check the video here. 1280 by 720. I might sort of bring that back down here to sort of like a widescreen. So we get a widescreen effect here. And okay. So just go through your parameters there, and once you're ready, click add to render queue, and then you simply click start render. And I'll let that do that, and what you'll be watching is the end result. Thanks very much for having a look at this, and hope you get a lot of use out of DaVinci. Hello everybody, Stev here, and welcome to the DaVinci Resolve Starter Tutorial. This tutorial is designed to be very quick, very simple, very easy, just to give you a quick overview of DaVinci Resolve. It's a huge program and we go into it in the next tutorial quite in depth, but just to show you how easy things are to get started, let's hop right in. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is download and install DaVinci. Now, if you haven't done that, head on over to the follow the download link and download that now. If you're on a Windows system, you may be prompted for some drivers and a wizard will come up, so just step through that and install the drivers, then open DaVinci Resolve. You should initially be immediately confronted with the opening project manager screen, and you'll see untitled project. Now you can organize this screen in a couple of ways. You can have it as a list items, or you can have it as icons. So to begin with, click the untitled project and DaVinci will open up. Now we get a screen that looks similar to this, and DaVinci has 4 key areas that you will be working with. The media pool, which is where we can drop our media items in, the editing area, which is where we create our film, the color area, which we won't be doing anything on in this tutorial. However, it does play a key part because this is where we do a lot of our green screen work and some of the more complex color correction features. DaVinci is used by every Hollywood studio, so it's particularly for its color. Now we finally have the delivery system, so you click on that and you can choose to customize YouTube, Vimeo. When you click those, they'll all automatically be set up for the different platforms, so that's a nice quick way to do it. Alright, at this point we'll go back to the media bin, and I want you to open up the files that were included with this tutorial. So we should have our audio file, our BG Aqua and our logo. So what we're going to do, we can do a couple of things here. We can sort of drag them straight into the media pool like so. And while we're in this media pool, I'll just show you the two elements of the project manager, which is where we were just in, is the project settings. So these are good to set up. We probably should have done that first actually. You can set this to sort of 24, 30 frames a second, and yeah, just set this up however you need to for your project, or just go with the default. So we'll save that. So with the audio, this is really cool. You can just click on items in the media bin and you'll see the audio file there. Now we'll head into the editor area, and immediately if we wanted to get back and see what's in our media pool, we can just click the media pool button up there. And we also have the effects area, which is really handy because here's where we can put transitions and everything onto into the film. We can also add text here too, which we'll be doing really quickly. Okay, so with our media, we might also grab the background and you can drag this straight on to the timeline, and you'll see that that appears there. So we can drop media in from the media pool, or we can drop it straight onto the timeline, which is really handy. So then we just move the play head back to the top and just play it through. It's maybe a little slower as I'm recording the screen. However, this is a loopable background which looks really nice, and as you'll see, we just get to the end and it stops. So what we can do here is if we select the clip, you'll see it comes up in the inspector. And if you've not seen the inspector, that's the inspector button, and this is where we can really play around with the actual clip itself. And these buttons on the side are quite important too, because these allow you to keyframe. And what keyframing is, let's say I click this particular, let's move the playhead back to the top, and I click the position. Right, that has just recorded that the position is 0. Right, all the settings here are 0. Now if we click this particular item here, the icon, this is the transform icon, that's got the background highlighted, and let's say if we just want to move that across, if you want to change your screen resolutions here, you can do that quite easily, just there. So now we can see that the background is over there, and if we just move the playhead down a little bit, and then we move this back into the middle, that looks about right, I think. Just go up here and fit that in, get that right. You'll notice that the keyframe became red, and it's now recorded this particular aspect. In actual fact, because we knew that it was 0, what we could do here is just go 0, enter, 0, enter, and that will actually perfectly line that up. So what happens now is, as we take that off, there we get our background moving in. So that is using keyframes. Now you can use keyframes with everything, and that's the only thing I want to show you in this on keyframes at the moment, because we get right into them in the next tutorial. At any rate, let's say we'll copy that. So I can either, actually, I won't copy that, we'll just drag another version. We can just sort of move that there. And here we can zoom in on the workspace and the timeline. And if we just play that, that should seamlessly, that will seamlessly loop. So this is how we can now add one continuous background through the movie. So if I just copy that, I just went Control C, and now I go Control V, and paste it, as you can see, we've now got a movie that is about 55 seconds long. So that is really quite handy there. So if we go into the effects library, let's add some text to it. So again, we simply drop the text on, and when we click that up in the inspector, this is where we edit the text. So again, click the transform, we can just move that around the place. With the text, you've also got the video aspects, and if you notice the position here, which is where I was just changing, you can see that come up there. So that's how easy it is to add text. If we want to add some more text, let's add some scrolling text. And I just pushed up and I've put that over the top. So let's select the scrolling text. You need to put the playhead over the clip that you're working with. Okay, and in this particular case, just position this so goes up into the title. Now you can just quickly make that center that and go whatever your point is, T2, T3, T4, and now when we go and play through, just let it think about this for a second. And that may not have come out as clearly as it could have because of the screen recording. However, that will render really, really nicely. So that is the tall and short of really getting things done in DaVinci. We might just quickly put some, okay, let's put a logo in there. And let's also drop some audio in there. So the audio you'll see down here. And we can just bring the workspace down a little bit. Send the audio to the front. Now if you don't want to listen to the audio, you can just mute the particular tracks. Same with the video tracks. You can just turn them on and off. And with the audio, you can see we can just kind of move the clips. You see this kind of doesn't start till there, and if we wanted that to start immediately, just move that up and then shunt the whole clip back. So we'll just turn this on for a tick, and what do we get? And that actually would have gone all the way through. Okay, so what we'll do here is I'll just show you quickly some of the effects. Now, I use the cross dissolve quite often, which is why I've starred that. And let's say across dissolve, you just drag these effects straight onto the clip. Okay, I'll turn this off now. And as you can see, there's that comes in quite nicely. Just put in there, and let's say we wanted to slowly increase the size here. I said I wasn't going to show you any more keyframing, however, this is really simple to do too. So if we just click that there, the zoom, and then we move the playhead down, and we just drag this to there. That's gone red, and when we play that through, can't quite tell from this, but that will just appear nicely and fade out. Alright, finally, let's say we've finished our movie and we're going to render it. Just before I do that, I might quickly here, we'll just cut this off at this point. So there's your splice tool. I get more into all of these in the next tutorial. So we'll just move that across there. Okay, the inspector, go back to deliver, and as I mentioned before, we can set this up for custom. If you're exporting to YouTube, click the YouTube icon and you can choose how to render this out. What we do here is we just call it, give it a name, so I'll just call this test for the time being, and just browse the location. So yeah, find your location and put it into there. And what we do is we add to the render queue. And basically, you can see that appearing here. Then we click Start Render and watch this render itself out. Okay, that is the fairly quick basic ways to get around DaVinci Resolve. But as you'll find out coming up, it is a big program with a lot of capacity, and we jump right in. So for the next tutorial, have the pause button ready and just go over anything that, if you didn't quite pick it up the first time, some things may need a couple of looks at. However, it's fairly laid back in the delivery, and if you follow the examples in there, you'll come out with a great looking video very quickly. Okay, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.
I'm going to teach you right now something that, well, I think a lot of folks have tried to explain, but probably none as simply as you're about to see right now, as I do not only remove green screen in DaVinci Resolve 12.5, I'll give you a little rundown of that software too, but I also show you how to do it with spokespeople in mind. So whether it's for VideoPal use or just general use, if you don't have VideoPal, well, guess what? Right now, I'm going to give you a nice little rundown on how to do green screen in DaVinci Resolve. The rest of the training you could find below. Watch. Okay, so obviously, the first thing you want to do is actually download it. I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm going to dwell on the green screen use. But if you put DaVinci Resolve in Google, or you just use the link underneath this video, you'll be taken right to the right place, which is Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve 12.5. You can see it right here, and you can actually download it right away. You could actually download a version from Mac or PC, and then there's more information underneath. So with that said, let's get right down to it. I'm in DaVinci Resolve here right now. This is it on the upper right. When I first loaded it, it did ask me if I wanted to have the look and feel of Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve previously. I chose, in this case, Adobe Premiere because I think that will follow closest with the video training that we have underneath this video. Actually, what I do now, or I already started to do, is I loaded a background for a video. Okay, my video is right here. It's actually the one that you're watching today, right here, and I'm going to show you how I split it So there it is. I put it right in there, and now we're going to work on that in just a moment. Now, while I have your attention on me bringing stuff in, I want to show you what I've done here. There's 4 tabs at the bottom: Media, Edit, Color, and Deliver. I'm not going to dwell on this now, but it's pretty obvious. The media is where you store your media. The edit is where you're going to perform editing on a timeline. The color is where we're going to be doing our green screen work, and delivering is going to be where we render and push the video out to the public or our hard drive. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is go to edit. When I go to edit, I have the timeline here on the bottom, and I have right here the various different pieces that I'm going to use. Now I want to drag in, obviously, my video. That's very important to do. And then if you look closely, you'll see that the video is in 2 parts. The video part, which is denoted as V1, and the audio part, which is denoted as A1. If I could show you on the upper right here, there's actually a little control. Do you see this right here? If I click on this, it's going to give me a choice for showing audio waveforms. Now, the reason why I'd want to do that is in case I wanted to split the video, or split the audio, I should say. And there's a reason for that. I mean, when you see your audio, you can figure out where to actually cut it, because it starts and stops. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring an image underneath. All right, and in order to do that, I would just go like this. So in this case, I would be against a house here. Now, in order to bring it underneath, what I really need to do is lift the video up. When we lift the video up, notice it's split from the audio because all the audio defaults to the bottom. But now that I've lifted the video up, I can now slide my image in place. I could stretch it out by just clicking on the edge and dragging it. And now basically I'm pretty much set. Now I'm pretty much set, but I do want to show you later the Kelly green and how that looks. And why you would do that for VideoPal. That is to make a bright green backdrop rather than this kind of dull green backdrop that's already behind me. So I'm going to put that here. So we'll actually have 2 backgrounds going. One will be the green and one will be a house, and we'll compare them. So we're all set up now to go to the color tab where we'll do our chroma key work. Okay, we're inside DaVinci Resolve's color area, and we're particularly going to be doing green screen work, so we're going to need to set up what's called an alpha channel. Everything is very similar to other software such as Camtasia, but it's a little bit more hands-on, so it gets a little more complicated looking, even though it's not really that much more complicated. But let me show you the way to do it, the simplest way to do it. So the first thing that is suggested to do by all the videos that I've watched, curating all those videos and condensing them, is to create what's called a new node. And I'll explain what a node is in just a moment. You can't see it, but at the very top of my screen, I have in the menu, and you could kind of see it now, it says nodes, and then it says add serial node. You see that at the top here. I'm going to click on that, and what it does is it adds this right here. Now, what a node is basically a work area. So we're passing from the top video, which is right here. That's the video that we originally put on top. And it passes the output of color right here. It's passing through one work area into our latest work area. And then what we want to do is not only pass the color, but now we also want to pass an invisible channel, also known as an alpha channel. And that's what we're going to do. And the way to do that is to do a click. Anywhere in here is to click, right click, and then add alpha output, okay? The alpha output is denoted by this blue area right here, this little blue output, okay? So we have the color here, and then we have the transparency as it's called here, and the way to connect that to your work area is just by clicking on the triangle there and taking this line and attaching it there. So there's our output, okay? So this is our work area, the node, and it's going to be sending a transparency and a color channel both out. All right, so that's important. You'll see why in just a moment. That's the first step. So that differs from what we've seen in other pieces of software. The next step is to pick the eyedropper. The eyedropper is right here, and that's called the qualifier. But the very first step is to use your eyedropper, and we're set up in doing that right here. You see where the eyedropper is kind of pointing into what looks like a pool of water because there's concentric circles. That means that you're set up right now to just select any color. So we're going to go back up here and select a color to disappear. All right? So which color should we select? Well, let's select something in between the darkest green and the lightest green. Let's pick something right here. All right, I've clicked this, and immediately you notice there's something wrong. As we take a look at the workspace right here, you see that I've disappeared, not the background. And that's basically what happens during your first step. But that's easy to reverse. We go back down to the selection range here, and you can see this reversal tab. This tab is actually called Invert, and we're going to click it. And now you can see it's starting to get better, but we still haven't gotten rid of the green here. We can still see right here in our workspace that we haven't gotten rid of it there either. Now, when we get rid of it here, it's going to show a background. When we get rid of it here, it's just going to show the transparency. It will just be blank. It'll shine through to this gray nothingness, all right? Well, this will become more clear in just a moment when I do the following step. The next step is what I like the best, and that's clicking this right here. That eyedropper lets you choose more colors. So you see the eyedropper and a plus. Think more. The plus means more. So I'm going to click that. Now I'm going to choose more colors to disappear. So I click this. 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 And you're saying, wait a minute, Todd, why aren't we seeing the background? Actually, we are seeing the background. Remember? This is what I showed at this part of the video. One of the reasons why I loaded this house as one of my backgrounds is because I wanted to show you so that you don't get confused that the house is there. All right? You see, there's the house, there's the garage, but I haven't gotten rid of all the green in front of it. I could still try to click that green with the eyedropper, but I haven't gotten rid of every single speck. Well, how do I do that? How do I get rid of the rest of that green, those specks that are left? How do I make it that right around me, right here, is going to turn all beige gray and not be green anymore? Because both of those things are what you're striving for. All right, well, the way is to go now to this. Remember in Camtasia when I said you can actually control the tolerance and almost ignore everything else? And that's the most important thing, to move left and right. You see that right here, okay, on the right-hand side of Camtasia? Well, that's basically what we're doing as well as we take a look at this software when it comes to the hue and the controls. Because what we're going to do is pick more colors than just the narrow color that we've so far focused in on. And the way to first do that is to click over where it says soft, and then make that bigger by scrolling to the right. See how I'm scrolling left to right and making that bigger? Now, while I was doing that, the green was disappearing. And if that doesn't do it, then you go to width right here, and you scroll to the right, and it widens the group of colors that gets removed. You could see that early in the image here, I put myself in front of that bright Kelly green. The reason I did that is because I wanted to remind you that bright Kelly green is what is removable. If you do use VideoPal, then it's important to have spokesman in front of that bright Kelly green color for automatic removal in VideoPal if you're having trouble with your videos. So I wanted to show you how to do that again. But for general use, you'd put yourself usually in front of a background like this: a house, a car, a lake, a mountain, a river, an ocean, a cityscape, but not green normally. Okay, so this would be for normal use, putting another kind of background behind. So basically that's it. That's the most important tweaks for just general green screen use before you get to that point of being an expert. What I showed you should be sufficient for starters. And we have much more training on it inside our DaVinci product, which is the low-cost training, the second link below this video. On this, Stev Forster takes a crack at showing you as well. I just wanted to get it out there because obviously this light green color is something that he's not going to address for VideoPal use. Okay, the last thing, which I'm not going to dwell on, but I want to show you, is the fourth tab here, which is the delivery tab. You'd click this, and then to deliver your video, you'd actually at this point use this tab and then start deciding where to put it. For instance, you could do custom, which is going to put it on your hard drive, YouTube, Vimeo, Final Cut Pro 7, and Premiere XML output. That's all what you can do just by clicking these right here. So that's something that you'll want to learn more about inside those tutorials below.